Coca-Cola is one of the most recognized brands in the world, spending endless billions on advertising every year. But have you ever noticed that they never really try to sell you on their products? Instead, they sell an idea of happiness, harmony, and togetherness. But is this just a distraction from the disturbing truth about the company? There are serious accusations against Coca-Cola, including allegations of causing disease, droughts, exploitation, and much worse. In this video, we'll be taking a journey through Coca-Cola's incredible history spanning 3 different centuries. We'll examine how Coca-Cola really became one of the most recognized brands ever and at what cost. Because one thing is for sure, you don't build an empire selling sugar water by telling people the truth. Let's start by going back to the 1880s, when there was a backlash against doctors and people started using home remedies instead. Deceitful entrepreneurs pounced on this opportunity and started creating potions and elixirs that they claimed had a wide variety of medical benefits. One popular patent medicine was called Vin Mariani, which contained a mix of wine and cocaine that supposedly cured almost any ailment or sickness whatsoever as long as you drank 3 glasses every day. One person who loved this drink was a man named John Pemberton, a war veteran who had been severely injured in battle. The doctors had actually thought he was going to die and dosed him up with morphine to try and mask the pain for his final few hours. However, John somehow survived. Unfortunately, he did develop a serious morphine addiction, which is why when he discovered Vin Mariani, he became hooked on the drink. He thought it was helping him overcome his morphine addiction, and of course, after drinking it, he really did feel better. But that's not because it was medicinal, it's because it contained wine and cocaine. Since Pemberton loved the drink and he was a chemist himself, he decided to create his own version. In 1884, he launched French wine Coca, which was basically a rip-off of Vin Mariani with a couple more ingredients added. And yeah, this knockoff drink would soon become Coca-Cola. To be fair to Pemberton, he wasn't some snake oil salesman trying to deliberately rip people off. He really believed in his products. However, Pemberton's timing was terrible. Just a year later, Prohibition hit with many states banning alcohol. Pemberton had to take the wine out of his drink and replace it with carbonated water. But this left the drink tasting very bitter, so he added a huge amount of sugar to counteract that. After removing the wine, he could continue selling French wine Coca with a new name. Fortunately, Frank Robinson, Pemberton's bookkeeper, came up with a captivating suggestion: Coca-Cola. Although the company later claimed that the name was just an alliteration and didn't have any particular meaning, this was not true. The name was a reference to the drink's 2 main ingredients, the kernel, which contained caffeine, and the coca leaf, which contained cocaine. Even today, Coca-Cola denies that their formula has ever contained cocaine, despite well-documented evidence that it did contain coca leaf, which contains cocaine. However, by 1929, they found a way to remove all the active cocaine from the coca leaves, once they realized that cocaine was not the magical medicine they thought it was. But in the 1880s, nobody was concerned about the cocaine in the drink. So, after removing the wine, Coca-Cola could continue being sold. The only issue was that not many people were buying it. Pemberton was still trying to promote the medicinal aspects of the drink, describing it as a harmless and wonderful brain tonic that could relieve headaches and upset stomachs. However, sales were slow because there were countless other patent medicines offering similar benefits, and Coca-Cola didn't stand out. Meanwhile, Pemberton's health was deteriorating rapidly. His pain was getting worse, and his addiction was growing stronger. By 1888, John Pemberton was dead. The tragedy was that he had no idea that his drink would become one of the most well-known drinks on the planet. Just before his death, Pemberton sold the company to an ambitious workaholic named Asa Candler for $2,300. Candler then started buying out any outstanding shares owned by other people, so he could have full control of the company. However, later investigations revealed that Candler may not have really bought all those shares, as some of the documents contained forged signatures. It's possible that we may never know exactly what happened because Candler even had the early records of the company burned, most likely to cover his tracks. But by the 1890s, Asa Candler was fully in charge of Coca-Cola. However, the drink was not very popular at first. So Candler started promoting the brand by filling the town with Coca-Cola branded banners, billboards, and placards. They even painted the logo on barns and plastered it on anything they could find. One of Coca-Cola's first marketing strokes of genius was to contact every pharmacy in the area, get a list of their top customers, and send them a free coupon for Coca-Cola. The strategy was to offer a free trial to people, with the expectation that they would become lifelong customers. This was due to the drink's inclusion of addictive chemicals. However, it was soon discovered that advertising Coca-Cola as a medicinal product was not the right approach. Instead, they decided to market it to everyone as a tasty and relaxing drink that anyone could enjoy. This had the added benefit of disassociating Coca-Cola from the patent medicine industry, which was facing increased scrutiny due to false claims. Coca-Cola's mass marketing strategy was a huge success, as sales began to grow rapidly. The company reinvested more and more money into advertising, and even paid celebrities to endorse the drink. They heavily featured Santa Claus in their Christmas ads, always holding a Coke to create a connection in young kids' minds between Coca-Cola and the joy of Christmas. While these marketing techniques may not seem particularly unique today, at the time, Coca-Cola was pioneering many of them. For example, they used attractive women, known as Coca-Cola girls, to promote their product. They even created a statistical department to analyze car traffic and movement in supermarkets to determine the most effective places to put their ads. As new technology was introduced, from radios to TV, Coca-Cola was always ready to throw money into advertising on these new mediums to ensure everyone knew about their products. Initially, Coca-Cola was mostly sold in soda fountains, which allowed them to save a significant amount of money on shipping and distribution costs. But then, two lawyers named Benjamin and Joseph came to Asa Candler with an idea to bottle the drink. Candler initially thought this was a bad idea because bottling was expensive and complicated. However, Benjamin and Joseph took on all the cost and risk themselves, so Candler agreed and signed a contract granting them full bottling rights for just $1. As we now know, bottled Coca-Cola was a massive success. Customers loved it, which meant the bottlers were buying loads of Coke syrup from Candler, and this was a great revenue stream for the business. However, there was one major problem. Candler hadn't believed bottling Coke would work, so he had put almost no thought into the contract he signed. There was no time frame set on the deal, and no mention of changing the price if the cost to produce the Coke syrup increased. This meant that Candler had given the bottlers a never-ending contract to supply them with Coke syrup at the same low price, no matter how much the cost of the raw ingredients went up. This led to multiple lawsuits between Coca-Cola and its bottlers over the next few decades, with the company paying countless millions of dollars to buy back some of the rights that Candler had sold away for just $1. But in the early 1900s, this wasn't a worry for Candler because sales of Coca-Cola were higher than ever and growing every year. The rapid growth of Coca-Cola was due to marketing, rather than the product itself. There were countless similar drinks available, and remember, Coca-Cola was a knockoff of another drink anyway. But every year, Coca-Cola spent more and more money on advertising, and every year, sales grew. However, arguably Coca-Cola's biggest successes came from a surprising source. When the Second World War erupted, it was declared that sugar would be rationed. However, Coca-Cola made a preposterous assertion that they should be exempted from sugar rationing because Coke was a necessary wartime product. Even more ludicrously, the government concurred. This was largely due to Coca-Cola's enormous expenditures on lobbying the government. Coke financed countless studies to persuade the government of Coke's advantages. They claimed that Coke would bolster morale and provide an energy boost for soldiers. Eventually, the US government appointed a Coca-Cola executive onto the rationing board who then granted Coca-Cola an exemption from sugar rationing. Meanwhile, every other company had to decrease the quantities of sugar they used during the war. But Coca-Cola did not stop there. Coke's president publicly pledged that every man in uniform would get a bottle of Coca-Cola for 5 cents wherever he was and whatever it cost the company. Do you want to know how Coca-Cola's story continues? Leave a like and subscribe to the channel and see you in next video.